Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right?
Oh!
The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa,
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
and he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome. This is Wacky Wednesday here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. I'm Adam Best, joined by Sterling Holmes, as always, and producer Richard, here to keep us sane and on schedule, I suppose. Sterling, how we doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm doing great. I'm excited. We actually have a Chiefs game to talk about. It's
a real
funny.
Chiefs game.
Yeah, it's like you're in this fine line of not wanting to take anything for granted, but also you're sitting here going like, come on, hurry up. The pageantry, I'm over it. I want to see the Chiefs go for the three-peat, and it starts with Houston coming on up. Instead of saying coming on down like a game show, it's come on up because they got to travel obviously up to Arrowhead. But damn, am I excited!
I love being able to kick our feet up on Wild Card Weekend. What a luxury, after going through the season to kind of regroup and refresh and come back ready for some football in the divisional round. It's such a treat.
And also, by the way, I see some questions about the weather. This is what I know as of today is Wednesday, January 15th. If you're listening on Thursday, sorry, you're a day behind. I'm giving you a day late information here. But on Wednesday, January 15th, the weather supposed to be warmest at midnight. It's an Arctic blast coming into Kansas City. I was talking with Wes Perry today over there on 41 KSHB, and should be the warmest actually when you're tailgating. So if you're tailgating, that's the warmest it's going to be all day. So don't expect it to warm up. It's not going to be like the Dolphins game by any means. It's not going to be that bad. But he said you're probably looking at high teens, low 20s with the wind chill really getting down into that maybe high single digits, low teen number. So make sure if you do go to the game, bundle up. It's going to get colder as the day goes on.
Look at our resident Al Roker over there. We're going to have to get a meteorologist green screen behind you so you can do all the cloud stuff and the fronts and all that. We have a great show for you guys today. Last week we took the optimistic look at the biggest reasons the Chiefs will three-peat. So this week we have to take the cynical look. It's only right. And so don't yell at me. If you didn't listen to last week's show, go back and listen to that. You're going to hear a very rosy outlook for this playoff run. But today we're putting on our pessimistic hats. But before we get to that, there's a little bit of business we have to take care of.
Oh, yeah, baby. And that's Underdog. It's not really business when you dig it and when you use it. And that is Underdog Fantasy. I'm a huge fan of Underdog Fantasy. It is so simple to use. Their champions game, their fantasy football drafts, just everything about Underdog is very user-friendly. I really enjoy it for a multitude of reasons. One of the ones is injury protection, running back vulture protection. There's just so many different positive nuances to Underdog that really stand out. They're always doing some sort of special as well. If you like NBA is great on Underdog. I think it's the easiest one for hires and lowers. I mean, you make the call right there. It's super, super simple. I highly recommend Underdog, and I'll have an Underdog fantasy lineup. I gave one out yesterday. The one I'm going with is over on Travis Kelce receiving yards, over on Kareem Hunt rush yards, over on Patrick Mahomes rush yards, and I'll go over on Patrick Mahomes pass yards as well. I'm expecting a pretty solid offensive game plan from KC in this one with that much time off. Maybe that first drive stalls, so you'll see a little bit of rust in the first drive. Then after that, I think you will see an offensive explosion. I think it's a little risky on a lot of the Chiefs wide receivers, but on T. Kelce, pretty confident that he goes in there and has himself a nice day. So if you download the app today and use code Arrowhead Addict, all one word, you can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, that's code Arrowhead Addict, all one word, to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Higher or lower, you make the call right there on Underdog. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona. Present in state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800 next step, 1-800-639-8783. Text NEP step 2 53342. New York, code 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-AND-WIRE. Text HOPE and WIRE 467-369.
Woo! I think that was a land speed record, man. You broke the sound barrier there.
I feel like I had a little bit left in me. I'm getting over the sickness, and I feel great today, but you can still feel the lungs are a little bit weighed down. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
God, you went so fast. I had something I was going to say, and now I spaced it. Oh, I love the champions over at Underdog. Last week I had McLaurin, I had Henry, I think I had this. It was like 6 different players, and you know who sunk me? All I needed was 3.5 catches from Rashad Bateman. Zay Flowers is out. You should get that in your sleep, but they only throw the ball 20 times because the Steelers can't put up any resistance, and that one thing sunk me. And I was feeling frisky. You guys, if you do that champions, they have an option where you can lose one and still win. I should have done that. I got a little greedy, and I would have won if I did that. But that's why I lost. But let's get into our segment today, and it's 10 reasons why the Chiefs won't three-peat. Like I said, last week we looked at the positives. So this week we will analyze the negatives. I think it's a worthwhile exercise, and it ensures our coverage isn't just cheerleading, right? So in no particular order, here are 10 reasons the Chiefs won't three-peat. And our old friend, the Countdown-O-Tron 8008, is here to help us. Number 1, 3.5 weeks rest will make the Chiefs rusty and out of sync.
First drive, maybe. I do think there's a little bit to this. And I was doing the national podcast we do here for Fansided Stacking the Box, me and Ian McMillan. If you've not checked out the national one, and if you're intrigued by it, feel free to check out Stacking the Box. He'll also be there at New Orleans with us, covering the Super Bowl. Ian, great guy, even if he is a Chiefs hater. You'll learn that if you do follow Ian. He is a Chiefs hater. He's just tired of it. But we talked about this, and I go, if you had a rank, what was more important, the 24 days off or the rust factor? Well, give me the 24 days off with the unknown of never having a team have 24 days off. That's crazy. That's absurd. That's asinine. I get that. But I also pushed back and said, it's not like the preseason. Because that's what he was trying to say. It's kind of like the preseason when you have so much time off, from the offseason heading in. I go, preseason doesn't matter. They don't care. They're just trying to get their stamina back. They're trying to get in shape. The Chiefs team understands what they have to do. Almost everyone has at least won a Super Bowl at least one time here. They understand what is at stake. They know how to prepare. They know how to have the preparation to get ready for a playoff game. It's not going to be too fast for them. Some of the rookies, maybe I do have some questions about. Xavier Worthy, Jaden Hicks, maybe a little bit there. But when it comes to guys like Patrick and Chris and Travis, then we heard, Dave Tobe talk about Harrison Butker and how good he finally looked. The power back in his leg today at practice, or maybe that was yesterday, but he spoke today about it. Like, the rest means so much more than the rust. So I definitely understand the thought process behind it, because again, 24 days never happened before, right? Heading into a playoff game. I just think that the rest outweighs by far the rust factor.
I agree. And when it comes to rust, you got to look at the continuity. So we always talk about the big three, Chris, Pat, Travis. But you also have Joe Toney, who not only played in multiple Super Bowls here, but multiple Super Bowls in New England, right? So you have him. You have Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis. The list goes on. Justin Reed, Nick Bolton. They've been here for the last couple Super Bowls, this nucleus. But what doesn't get talked about enough, I don't think, is this Chiefs coaching staff. It hasn't gotten poached. Any other team wins the Super Bowl or even makes the Super Bowl, they're probably getting poached. You have a cup of coffee with Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay, you're getting a job in the National Football League. So it's miraculous that Spags and Joe Cullen and Andy Heck and Dave Merritt and the list goes on and on. All these guys are still there. And so they're a well-oiled machine when it comes to how to prepare for the playoffs. I'm with you. I think the first drive, they might have a little bit of jitters and they might just be overly excited, but they'll get in sync pretty quickly.
I was waiting for the touchdown. We got 2 seconds. Sorry.
Touchdown,
Filibuster.
Kansas City.
Number 2, pass rushers not named Chris Jones won't provide enough juice.
Oh, this is such a fabrication in my mind. My hot take, if it's even a hot take that I've been talking about, is I think Turk Wharton thrives in this game. I really do. The Texans' interior offensive line, and even on the right side, anyone not named Laramie Tunsil, they've struggled for the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud he's not a mobile quarterback. He's not immobile, but he's kind of almost that Joe Burrow, right? Where maybe Justin Herbert's another way of, but I almost think he's that Joe Burrow's mobility where he can move around in the pocket. Yes, but he's not Patrick where he's super slippery. He's not Lamar. He's not Josh Allen. He's not a super insanely athletic QB. I think Turk Wharton up the middle is going to give him nightmares because we know Chris Jones. We know what he's going to do. But if they double CJ95, Turk Wharton, and I think Charles Omenihu, those two guys specifically are going to feast. I think Karlaftis is going to have his hands full. I think they're going to say, we talked about it with Briscoe yesterday. Karlaftis, you just go one-on-one with Laramie Tunsil almost every single drive, every single play. You just give him nightmares.
Wear him out.
Just wear him out. It's like a billy goat. Just bashing your head into him, play after play after play. And Karlaftis can do that, and that's very, very valuable because by him doing that allows the other three guys to really get going. So my answer is no. I think Turk Wharton specifically is a guy I'm tapping to get at least 1 second this one.
So Charles Omenihu the other day had a tweet that went something like, check my playoff record. And I retweeted that saying strip sacks incoming and noted that not only did he have one against Lamar last year, he had one against Geno Smith 2 seasons ago. Well, he corrected me because 3 seasons ago, he had one against Dak. So we're looking at 3 playoffs in a row where he's had a strip sack. I think Charles Omenihu is one of these players that when the bright lights come on, he's better. He has a track record here. He has a track record. And I'm also with you. CJ Stroud, he will be a tactical scrambler if you absolutely make him do that. He doesn't want to. He wants to stay in the pocket and deliver the ball and stay on schedule. That's just the way he plays. I think the Joe Burrow comp is apt. He's not there as a player, but I think he's even said he's modeled his game after him. This offense is a little bit of a mess play calling wise. I don't think Bobby Slowick has done a very good job this year. And the offensive line doesn't look good. So I think Spags is going to be cooking up some heat, which will really help. You throw some exotic blitzes in there to help your defensive line. Shoot, you might even see Karlaftis drop back and cover people. I know that kind of makes us pull our hair out, but Spags just wants to keep you guessing.
Yeah. 4 seconds. Filibuster.
Touchdown, Kansas City.
Well, we're not going over today. I feel like we did that a lot last week. Number 3, the quarterback 2 spot will continue to plague the defense.
Not in this game. Because with Nico Collins being their only guy, really, I'm not too nervous. Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie, who's going to be more of a slot guy to begin with. Robert Woods, I know he's a veteran. He's been around, but he doesn't really have a whole bunch of juice left. They cut and waived and released Deontay Johnson already. They don't really have much talent without Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs. They had a great wide receiving core, and it was gone just like that. So while I don't think the Chiefs secondary, especially CB2, is solved, with Jalen Watson coming back, I'm very impressed. And maybe I'm not being high enough on it because he played through a torn labrum last year. And then he's already coming back this year, and it sounds like he's going to play. Doesn't sound like he's going to get his full array of snaps, but it sounds like he's at least going to play a little bit. That's ridiculous. That's awesome, by the way. I'm so damn happy for Jalen Watson. That is incredible. Joshua Williams has been a little up and down. I've kind of liked Williams overall, but at the same time, there's still some inconsistencies with his play. Najee Johnson has been unplayable at this point, which sucks, but he's a great special teamer at least. And then Keith Taylor, Christian Roland Wallace, CRW will play in the slot, but only the slot. Maybe he plays instead of Chamari Connor, or depends on if they go with 12 personnel, then maybe Chamari plays and CRW's off the field. A little bit of just, base versus sub packages there. I don't think CB2 is going to be necessarily a massive issue in this game, but if Tank or Stephon Diggs are going to play, I think my answer would be a little bit different.
The grit of Jalen Watson, man. This is a kid who is out of football, flipping burgers at Wendy's, and came back and made it to the National Football League. Despite being, I think he was wasn't he a 7th round pick?
Who, Watson?
Yeah.
Yes, correct. 7th round.
Yeah. So I'm not going to underestimate Jalen Watson because he's proven himself against the odds time and time again. And the good thing about him playing in this game, especially against a depleted Houston, Texas wide receiver core, he can get his legs back under him, right? He can get, it's not, I don't feel really scared about this game. I wouldn't want his first game back, really. I mean, if he can play, you throw him out there, but his first game back against Baltimore, Buffalo, and that caliber of quarterback, you think he might get picked on a little bit, but yeah, I think throw him in there. He's practicing. I mean, all the Twitter doctors say he looks good. We don't know, but the Chiefs aren't super duper aggressive with injuries. I don't think they'd be doing this. They tend to have the long view, right?
100%.
Touchdown, Kansas City.
You got to kind of rush those last 10 seconds. Number 4, this is the one I'm really worried about. Like back in Super Bowl 55, a revolving door at tackle will plague them.
This is probably the one that is causing me the most concern. I think Jawan Taylor's going to be fine. Okay, you said tackle, not just left. I mean, I think left is probably the primary one you're talking about. But Will Anderson Jr. is incredible. Danielle Hunter's incredible. They really are very, very talented. Maybe the best pass rush tandem, at least at edge in the NFL. They're just so good. I am a little concerned. I think Jawan will do fine. He was good in the playoffs last year. Maybe it's just he focuses in. He really gets, he gets it going. I don't know what it is, but he's able to zone in, it feels like, playoff time. Penalties will probably still happen, but I don't really worry about Jawan getting beat, which is interesting. For as much criticism as I've had on Jawan in that contract specifically, the one knock, or I guess the one positive I'll give him is he doesn't really get beat, or at least beat quick. He doesn't. He's not a great run blocking right tackle, but when he does lose, it's typically not one that you're like, oh my gosh, can you believe Jawan just gave up that sack that quickly? Like even in Jacksonville when Mahomes got it, wasn't that the game? When what was the one where Jawan got beat and the injury happened and everyone's blaming him? And I'm like, Jawan held for 4 seconds. I'm not going to blame that all on Jawan Taylor, right? Now the left side's a different story. I've talked about this a lot, so I'll cede the floor to you. I think DJ's probably going to start at left tackle. If we're up to me, I would probably start Joe Thuney. Just my feeling is going to be what the Chiefs would do. But DJ Humphries has more variance and can lose quick. Joe Thuney's typically going to lose a slower, die a slower death. I would go with Joe. I just am nervous about DJ going up against Danielle Hunter. That to me seems like a slight mismatch.
What's keeping me up at night is that rep he had against Nick Bonito, where he's basically a bullfighter. He doesn't even touch him. Doesn't even touch him. You cannot have that. That's the one thing that could get Mahomes hurt, that is going to blow up a drive, and furthermore will make Mahomes stop trusting his left tackle and kind of speed up that internal clock. I do think the ceiling is higher with DJ Humphries and Joe Thuney at left guard, but I think a lot of Chiefs Kingdom is taking a really rosy look at this. Yeah. The floor is lower with DJ Humphries and Joe Thuney than it is with Mike Caliendo and Joe Thuney, because Joe Thuney is not going to have catastrophic mistakes, even at left tackle. It's just not the way he does things. He's going to always know where he's supposed to be. He's going to be cognizant of everything that's happening on that field. He's one of the smartest players, one of the most experienced players on that field. And they're going to give him a little help, but they'll give DJ Humphries help too. I would go with Thuney. I think they're going to go with Humphreys.
Daniel, yeah, good point. Nico Autry, very good player as well. And Scott Peel, very funny. Rotate Tuni Caliendo on pass plays and Humphreys Tuni on run plays.
Kansas City.
That was pretty funny, Scott.
You're reading the ad read again. Number 5, Kansas City's starting wide receiver trio has barely played together. No chemistry yet?
This is so far down my list of worries. Hollywood came back and already has chemistry with Patrick. The target share that he received on the limited amount of snaps that he had was astronomical. I mean, that was very impressive. That was a guy that, one, clearly means is getting open at will out there, and also, two, that Patrick trusts and is looking his way. I have zero worries about Hollywood. I have zero worries about Xavier Worthy. Maybe on the deep ball connection, sure, but that hasn't happened all season long, so I'm not necessarily expecting that to happen come playoff time. But Xavier Worthy's become a great intermediate route, RPO, slant guy. He's been outstanding. I trust Xavier Worthy. D-Hop might be the one question in regards to playing time and connection with Patrick, because we haven't seen that with as much consistency, which, again, is funny because Hollywood only played 2 games with Patrick, but that 2 games of Hollywood with Patrick was really, really good. I trust D-Hop to be at least close enough on the same page as Patrick. D-Hop's a veteran. He's playing against his former team. He has great hands still. I'm not worried at all. If this was a scale of 1 to 10, like, how worried are you about the lack of playing time, especially with all 3 of the guys on the field together? 0. Because when they were all in the field at the same time together, good things happened. It wasn't like, oh man, where's he going? Oh man, that's a drop. Oh man, are they running into the same spot? None of that ever happened. So I'm not worried, especially with, again, a rookie who's now shown to be a great route runner and 2 veteran wide receivers who have both been around the NFL for a while and are noted as good route runners and great players. I'm not worried.
DeAndre Hopkins has played for 4 franchises. He is the consummate professional, right? He knows everything, every trick a wide receiver could possibly have up their sleeve, he has. He can run a full route tree, not as much burst as he used to, but I'm going to take us back to that Monday night game against Tampa Bay, where they really forced the ball to DeAndre Hopkins. And they wanted to see, can we run the offense through this guy? And the answer is yes. And ever since then, they've kind of picked and choose their spots with him. I think it's not only that they didn't want to give up a 4th round draft pick, right? It's that they wanted him to be healthy for the postseason. They saw what they needed to see. I think he's going to be the second guy that Patrick Mahomes looks at in the playoffs. I also think those last 2 games that Hollywood Brown was back with Patrick Mahomes, Patrick was like, I got to get on the same page with this guy. We got to get some reps. So I think he was really looking, what is Hollywood's number? Number 5? Number 5's way. With Xavier Worthy, I just think he's a souped up version of the McCole Hardman role. And that's really exciting when you put an even more athletic freak in that position.
Kansas City.
One more note here, where the tackle position does worry me, because we've seen that sink. We've seen like offensive line reconfigurations sink the Chiefs in the playoffs. We have never seen problems with the wide receiver room, like turnover with the wide receiver room. That is not something that stopped the Chiefs. The last 2 seasons, they had their worst 2 wide receiver groups of the Mahomes era, and they won Super Bowls. So on a scale of 1 to 10, this is about a 1 concern-wise. Number 6, this is interesting. What if Baltimore and Buffalo are just flat out hungrier?
Andy Reid will give him a burger. I don't know. I'm not. I don't really believe that too much. I get where you're coming from, where it's easy to get complacent, but when you're going for a history and a three-peat, everyone knows what's at stake. You're not going to be hungrier. You're just not. You might be as hungry, but you won't be hungrier. And that's why I think the Chiefs do a good job, and why the Patriots did for so long in a lot of dynasties. They'll bring in new faces, because those guys, they don't have a ring. They don't have anything to show for it yet. So they almost bring that energy back into the organization and into some of those players. But when you're going for a three-peat, I don't care how hungry Buffalo and Baltimore are. They're not going to be hungrier than the dynasty.
Well, if you swap the word hungry out for desperate, I certainly think they're more desperate. And the thing about that is when you back an animal up in a corner, they're dangerous, but also there's a lot of pressure here. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are both under immense pressure. They don't want to go through another offseason where everybody in the media is talking about why can't Lamar win the big one? Why can't Josh win the big one? It's become a narrative at this point, and those guys really, really want to silence the narrative. And I think those whole rosters do. Both Buffalo and Baltimore, they've been hanging around the top of the AFC for a while, basically the entire Mahomes era, and they haven't been able to break through and even get to a Super Bowl. I mean, even the Bengals have done that. They haven't been able to do that. I think the pressure is really on them. I honestly think they might be hungrier. Are they hungrier than Pat and Chris and Travis? No, but is your average guy on Buffalo's roster who's been sitting around thinking about losing to Kansas City, same with Baltimore, for a full calendar year, are they pissed off? Do they want revenge? Are they fired up for this game? Are they fired up for this playoffs? I think they are. I think these two teams are extremely, extremely motivated. And when you're looking at 53 versus 53, I don't know. There could be, if I'm playing devil's advocate here, a little bit of a motivation edge to those two franchises.
Yeah, well, the devil is a liar. Got you. A couple comments to get to. One from Jeremy. I wonder which O-line position is better for the run game. It's Joe at left guard and Humphreys at left tackle for run game, for sure. Sean says you're cheating the Clockotron. Yeah, you are. Let's see. Phantom. Adam is a Charles Barkley of the segment. Ayo, best. What do you got to talk about Galveston? Does that make me Shaq? What do you got about San Antonio women?
I'm not going there. I am not going.
Terry, it's great. I heard the Bengals lost games of the regular season on purpose to avoid playing the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Kansas City.
Number 7. The Chiefs running game still can't get going. I have a couple stats here. Since Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt started playing together, and they played together for 5 weeks, 5 games, they're averaging collectively 3.4 yards per carry and 18.8 carries per game, along with 65.2 yards. That's not going to get it done, right?
I mean, yes, short answer, yes, it will get it done because it's gotten done all season long. By the way, if those don't get what I said, San Antonio women way, I thought it was Holmes that liked to line dance. If you don't understand the San Antonio women thing, look up Charles Barkley talking about San Antonio women. It is hilarious. That was a reference to Chuck. Very, very funny segment. Sorry, I got
yeah,
off track there. No, I'm not too worried about this because the Chiefs aren't explosive in the run game. That's not their style, but they are fairly efficient or effective in the run game. I've somewhat pumped the brakes on Pacheco ever since he came back. He hasn't quite looked himself. He had that one great run, and that was outstanding, but I've tempered expectations. I think Kareem Hunt's the guy I'm looking towards to really having a big game against the Houston Texans. He came to KC, was very effective, and then he got wore down. He did. So I think the 24 days is going to help him a ton. He's going to be refreshed. He doesn't have a ring yet, right? So this is huge for Kareem. He'll be out there doing all he can. He'll be great in the red zone. He'll be great picking up those short yardage, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2s. Whether the yards per carry look good or not, I think the effectiveness of when you need them to pick up yards, I think Kareem Hunt especially will find a way to get it done.
A lot of Chiefs fans, there's a common refrain. The Chiefs need to run more, run the damn ball. I don't really agree with that. I think they need to run the ball more efficiently, not run the ball more. No disrespect to Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, who I think are very good running backs, but they're not great running backs. I don't want them to get 30 carries and take the ball out of the greatest football player to ever lace up his cleats. I don't want the ball out of his hands. I want the Chiefs to keep throwing. I don't want them to hand off 2 predictable runs on first and second down and say, Mahomes, bail us out in 3rd and long. I don't want that to be the strategy. I don't think it will. I think they have some wrinkles that they haven't thrown at other teams yet for the running game. I think they're going to get really creative. This is where Andy Reid shines, game planning for particular defenses. I think the running game is going to look as good as it has all season. And you mentioned the rest for Kareem Hunt. Well, what about the rest for Isaiah Pacheco? He needed that because he hasn't looked like himself. Maybe he has his same straightaway speed, but I don't think his full athleticism was back. Hopefully it is now.
Yeah. I still have a little bit of questions about his vision sometimes.
Touchdown, Kansas City.
Oh, yeah. We're not even going to go there. We're not even going to go there.
Done best. Let me.
It's a transition.
You had 5 seconds. You had 5 seconds. You acquiesced, and so I'm going to fill the 5.
I did acquiesce. Number 8. The NFC boasts the 2 most talent-rich rosters, Detroit and Philly.
Ooh.
Now, Detroit is pretty banged up, but Philly is not.
That's a great call. I think the Eagles are for sure in the top 2. Detroit, my only question is because of the injuries, right? I think it's probably, if I had to pick the 2 most talent-rich teams, I'm going Chiefs and Eagles, which is my Super Bowl. Now, what's going against the Eagles is I think Nick Sirianni's a boob. I don't think he's a very good head coach. I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. But that team, there's no denying the talent. Howie Roseman, if you look at the drafts he's had and some of the moves he's made and bringing in Zach Bond on that I mean, it's just insane how good Howie Roseman's been. I do think it's Nick Sirianni to an extent holding them back. Okay. When it comes to Detroit, it probably would be Detroit and Philly if it were not for all the injuries. But the issue is they have all the injuries. When the Chiefs have the injuries, they found ways to get through it and win. Detroit has too. But I would still say Detroit and the Eagles are the 2 most talent-rich teams in the entire NFL. Bills are close, but we all thought the Bills were taking a slight step back this year. They don't have a legitimate wide receiver 1. They're just loaded with wide receiver 2s. It's almost what the Chiefs thought they had last year with their wide receiver group. This one actually played out to fruition, though, for the Bills, right? This pretty much is exactly what the Chiefs tried doing last year. The Bills have just actually made it work with wide receiver 2s. Lamar and the Ravens are very, very talented in their own right. I think their weapons aren't quite as good, especially with Zay Flowers being out. Their defense, though, is finally starting to turn things around. I think there's still that misconception that you can beat the Ravens through the air. Well, the past 5 or 6 weeks or so, that's not been the case. Their defense has been top 3 in the NFL. Just something to keep in mind.
They moved Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphreys around. They reconfigured that back secondary, and things have looked a lot better. I have more faith in the AFC winning the Super Bowl because I think Lamar, Josh Allen, and most of all, Patrick Mahomes, when you need a bucket, they're as good as it gets at improvising and making things happen and delivering a back-breaking play for the opposing defense. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's third and somewhat long. I mean, they've got A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith out there, and they don't even trust their quarterback. So I just think there's like a huge chasm between Jared Goff and Jalen Hurts and the 3 quarterbacks in the AFC. And I'm going to take the superstar MVP quarterback over the stacked roster, as long as the MVP quarterback side also has good rosters. And they do. I think Buffalo has an underrated roster, and obviously Baltimore and Kansas City are great as well.
Yeah.
Touchdown, Kansas City.
Number 9, kind of going the opposite direction here. They catch an unexpected quarterback on a heater, AKA the Eli Manning. Could be CJ Stroud, could be Jared Goff, maybe Matt Stafford, maybe. And I kind of like this one. I think he's the best quarterback in the NFC right now, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I guess it's not Josh or Lamar. That would not fall into that category. Jaden Daniels, it's tough because he's a rookie, and I think he's so good.
He doesn't play like a rookie. Not in the crunch, man. That guy has ice in his veins.
Yeah. Man, I think Jared Goff probably is the one that fits that the best in regards to, you got Eli Manning, where he's a good quarterback, but he's never been elite. I think that's probably Jared Goff. Different playing styles, of course, but I think that's probably the one you look at. It's funny, Matt Stafford kind of fits that to a little bit too. Both compilers. He has one Super Bowl. This would be his second one, but he almost both noted for being better in the playoffs, right? Both huge arms, not very mobile. I think it's funny because Matt Stafford almost has a better viewpoint than Eli overall, maybe. I don't know how to view that, but I think Eli and Matt Stafford are kind of similar in that regard, even if Stafford's more traditionally talented. But while it can happen, I think my short answer is no. I at least in the AFC, it's going to have to take a Herculean game from Josh Allen to beat the Chiefs. It's going to have to take a really, really, really good game from Lamar to beat the Chiefs. And I don't trust Lamar in the playoffs. And when it comes to Josh Allen, I don't know if the surrounding cast is good enough. I think Josh can do so much, but you give Spags time in the playoffs to come up with a game plan. I trust Spags to wreak a little bit of havoc on Josh.
From this group, I think CJ Stroud, he would have to black out for that roster to beat the Chiefs. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's unlikely. Jared Goff, I don't believe he'll be the reason they make the Super Bowl. I think it'll be that tremendous coaching staff, that defense playing above its head, that ridiculous running game, Jahmyr Gibbs looking like the reincarnation of Jamal Charles. And I don't toss that compliment around lightly. Jamal Charles is a running back god. Matt Stafford, we've seen him do this before. We've seen it before. So it's not that hard to imagine him going on a run and maybe in terms of arm talent, he's the most talented, experienced quarterback left in the NFC. And then Jaden Daniels, I just think he's a future superstar. We're going to be talking about him in the same category as Lamar and Burrow and Josh Allen very quickly. I mean, maybe next week if he wins again. So I think we could see Washington in the Super Bowl. It's not impossible because he's the best quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
If he stays hot, I'm just saying.
Touchdown, Kansas City.
Number 10, I really, really, really don't want to talk about this, but since we're taking the pessimistic viewpoint, we have to. And it's that injuries pop up and doom the team's title run. Knock on wood.
I'm going to do the Jaden Hicks to you. 2 thumbs down. No. Believe
Okay.
you.
So let's throw out the big 3. We don't want to even talk about
I don't
that
like this.
scenario.
No, I don't.
We don't
like
want to talk about that scenario, but let's just
No. John Cage. I'm not gonna. We're just gonna sit here for
no, we're not.
And not
no,
talk.
No, we're not. We can talk about it holistically.
No.
And say that generally teams in the NFL I don't have the power to jinx anybody. If I did, I would have voodooed Tom Brady, many moons ago. So I think health is the most underrated factor when it comes to who makes the Super Bowl every year. When the Bengals made the Super Bowl that year, they were exceptionally healthy. They were a very healthy roster. So was the Rams. Sterling, what do you want to talk about for these 2 minutes? That beautiful record collection behind you? I mean, we can talk about anything. I just wanted to kind of throw it out there. We've handled that business. We don't have to go any deeper.
Now. I want to throw hands. You don't do that. We're not talking that. Everyone's going to be healthy. You don't do that. Everyone drink your milk. Eat your vegetables. I don't care. Health. It's for you. I don't know, man. We can talk whatever you want. We can talk about how I think the Chiefs three-peat. We could talk about how
superstitious you are. You're pretty superstitious, or are you just a little stitious?
I'm just a little stitious.
I'm no longer superstitious at all. The Chiefs are so good. I used to have to do all these things, like I put a Chiefs bandana around my dog's neck and did all these things. I don't do any of those things anymore. They don't need it. They don't need, they don't need the good juju.
Have you not seen that Hallmark movie where apparently it all comes down to that beanie? Come on. Do you not believe? Do you not care about Hallmark movies? Psh, please. Oh, here we go. Yeah, KCDC.
You do not want me to answer that question.
I'll talk about the question or the comment that KCDC said. Think I saw we have a favorable referee squad Saturday. Yeah, they're 6-0 in games reffed by this referee. which is hilarious because they've only won 2 games. He's only ref 2 games since I think it was 2019 for Kansas City. They're 6-0. Well, it's shocking when Patrick Mahomes is 89-23 in his NFL career. There are going to be a lot of referees with favorable records. The only one that has a win-loss record that's negative is actually, I believe it was Clete Blakeman, who was 4-5 when reffing Patrick Mahomes games or Chiefs games, which is just like 89-23. There's about 5 or 6 refs that are undefeated when reffing Chiefs games. Yeah, no bleep, because the Chiefs win. For anyone that thinks it's a conspiracy, learn to tie your shoes, learn to walk and chew gum, and take the tinfoil hat off of your dome. The Chiefs are just better than your team.
Kansas City.
I would rather talk about injuries than referee discourse. I am done with referee discourse. And the exchange between that ref and Josh Allen the other day, I mean, that should end this nonsense for good. Let's move on to our next segment, and that is early score predictions. Sterling, how do you see this tilt against the Texans going down?
Yeah, I've gone a little back and forth with the Chiefs score. I guess the scores in general. I do think the line of 8.5 is pretty fair. That's about probably where I would have it. The Chiefs haven't traditionally covered a ton, but maybe the playoffs is a little different. I don't know. I think the Chiefs scored 27. I had them at 30 originally. I dropped them 3 points. I just don't see a blowout on the horizon personally. I still have a lot of respect for this Houston Texans team. I really do. They played some damn good football. There's a lot of talent on that Texans defense. I'll go Chiefs 27, Texans 20. That's me being pretty respectful.
Yeah.
I think the Texans with D'Amico Ryans, and my thoughts on Stroud, and maybe if they had Diggs and Tank Dell, things would be different. But let's be real, that's part of football. We talked about health. There's your health.
Got a question for you. So what the Colts were to the Chiefs previously, kind of the thorn in their playoff side, is that what we are now to the Texans? Are we
every team?
Well, the history of the Chiefs versus the Colts in the playoffs is particularly cruel. And if you think back to what we did to the Texans at the start of this dynasty run, one of the cruelest outcomes of a game I've ever seen in my life, to be up, 24-0 and lose that playoff game and get blown out, not just get blown out, get absolutely smoked, get run out of Kansas City.
51-31, and not only that, you also had the 30-0 game when Matt Schaub was quarterbacking for Houston. So I guess you're right. Even when kind of Alex Smith, not even just Alex Smith, just in general, the Houston Texans actually might be that. You're right. That's actually a pretty good call. The Chiefs had it with a lot of different teams, whether it was Denver, the Steelers, Indianapolis, Titans. Didn't really matter. The Chiefs found ways to lose ridiculous games. But I think you're probably right. I bet Texans fans probably feel like that's the Chiefs, when the Chiefs felt like that was the Colts back in the day.
I think the Chiefs will get over 30 offensively in these playoffs, but I don't think this is the offense that has the firepower to push them there, right? So I'm going to go Chiefs 29, Texans 13. I do think the Chiefs will handle business. I actually think it's fortunate that both Buffalo and Baltimore won, because everybody's talking about that this week, not the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs are able to have their head down and focus on three-peating and focus on the task at hand. I think they're going to be about their business on Saturday afternoon. No disrespect to the Texans, but without Stephon Diggs, who is looking like a big part of that offense early on, and without Tank Dell, who frankly was putting a little fear in my heart in that game against the Chiefs in the regular season. He looked fantastic after having a slow start to the season, and then boom, he's gone. I just don't think they have the weapons to keep up with Kansas City. So I'm predicting a mini blowout. Our last segment, and that's What's Spinning. Sterling, what are you listening to?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm wearing a Motorhead shirt right now, and I'm going to give a different band. I'm going to say just Robbie Williams, the British singer. He had that movie come out. I don't get it. I'm probably not going to watch it. I'm sorry. the thought
he's a monkey in the movie, right?
yeah, and the thought process was he thought that monkeys were more relatable than human. It's just too like avant-garde for me. And I like art that's avant-garde. I like that stuff. Like I like a lot of weird art. I do. Like if you look at my house or my parents' house, we have a whole bunch of just weird art. When it comes to movies and like a almost biography, it seemed like I don't get it. It's not for me, man. It's just too out there. But I was gonna at least listen to more of his stuff, and I'm like, damn, this dude actually is very, very talented. I get the love behind him. So musically diverse, so many different styles. Let Me Entertain You is just an absolute banger. Get some good speakers though, so you can hear some of the nuances. If you don't have good speakers, you won't really get it. Like I was listening to him in my car. I have decent speakers in my car. It was fine. You listen to it on like good speakers, you're blown away by all the nuances and intricacies. You know, with the horns, with the strings, with the drums, just everything coming together. So I'll say Robbie Williams. Shout out to you, UK, for having a good artist.
I'm all about that movie. I really want to see it, but I'm the guy last week who picked Eraserhead as one of his favorite movies for 1979. So I am that dude that likes weird avant-garde movies. And Robbie Williams, never really big in the US, but he kind of was like Justin Timberlake big in the UK. I mean, he was like the thing over there. So it's just kind of interesting that he never really blew up over here. I'm going to go with an album by a Japanese jazz musician who's kind of like a little bit of a cult favorite and has blown up right here on YouTube. Hopefully I don't botch this name. I think it's Ryo Fukui, and the album is called Scenery. It's very cool. As a writer, I love jazz. I love music that I can just put on in the background without any lyrics and kind of zone in. And this one did it for me. It not only is a good album to zone in, it's a good album to unwind to. It's a good album to throw on when you're cooking and you just had a long day and you just want to kind of like melt into the night. This will do it for you. That's all we've got for you guys. If you dig Arrowhead Addict, here's how you can help our community grow. First off, subscribe to our YouTube channel right here. That way you never miss a show. Also, audio listeners, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple. And if you listen to us over there, please, we're really pushing for our reviews. I don't know if we've gotten to 400 or not, but I know
we're not. Pushing. We're close. We're at like 393.
You can do Sterling and I a huge solid and leave a 5-star review over there. Ask us a question, and we'll get to it on the OG Hour, either with Patrick Allen and myself, or Patrick Allen and Matt Verderam, the king of the Verderant. Be sure to check out the mothership while we're spreading the love here. Matt Connor does a beautiful job over there.
KCDC, you're the man. You're always a great guy. I always appreciate you, KCDC, gifting 5 AA Discord memberships. Appreciate you. That's very, very kind. Thank you.
Lovely, man. We really appreciate it. And thanks to the chat. You guys always bring it. You keep us awake. You make the show even more fun. That's all we've got. Join us live next Wednesday. Hopefully we'll be talking about a new playoff opponent, and it's our show's right here at the same time, 5 p.m. Central. Until then, go Chiefs.